I'm delighted that we are joined by award-winning comedian, chart chart celebrity as well, which we'll come on to a little bit later. Rory,
Not.
thank you very much indeed for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Award-winning chart topping. That's who's that? Goodness me, yes. Currently being blinded by the sun. I don't know if I'm on your screen now. See, look at that. That way is full sun. That way is. I think you probably prefer me in the shade, don't you?
That's better. It might just be the reflection off my massive forehead. I
I
forgot
think.
how
I
many
think it
inches
is.
zoom adds to the forehead.
As Henry Blofeld would say, I think, my dear, it's the radiance of your presence. I'm afraid I'm just basking in the glow. But I might put a blind down, just maybe. But then again, as we're talking cricket and other things, I think it's nice to have some sunshine, isn't it? Could be raining out there, but it's beautifully sunny. Anyway, it's lovely to be with you.
Well, thank you for joining us ahead of an evening with Rory Bremner here at the Cooper Associates County Ground in March. What can people expect from that show?
Well, they can expect a very rollicking good evening. Well, I think people who've grown up and are familiar with the shows that I've done, they'll know that there'll be. I imagine Boris will be there, but I don't know if Boris will still be prime minister at that stage. I don't know how things go, and there'll be a fair few impressions, and I'll do my topical material. But also, I think what's fun about these evenings is there'll be a chance to be interviewed by my worthy interviewer, and also to maybe take some questions from the audience as well. And so that's what's really fun about the audience with things is sometimes people unlock stories that you'd forgotten about. So he said, "Oh, did you know David Frost?" And you sort of go into a series of stories about David Frost and great memories and extraordinary people that you've met, or cricketers that I've met over the years. And Colin Cowdery was a good friend, and his son Graham, who sadly died last year, was my best man at my wedding and one of the funniest men I ever met. And cricket is full of stories and characters, so there'll be that. So I hope that it'll be a mixture of sort of what you might call stand-up, sort of topical stand-up and impressions, and an interview. So that's what it'll be. Oh, and food as well.
Oh, food
and drink, and maybe cheese.
Oh, I hope there's cheese. You don't have to be a cricket fan, though, to enjoy the show, do you?
No, absolutely not. No, totally not. No, I mean, cricket's been a big sort of part of my life. I've loved it, but yeah, it's just one. I think probably my great failing in life. I've got lots of failings in life, and one of them was be that I'm interested in lots and lots of different things, but not to any great depth. So if you say you're a great cricket fan, what was the average of the top Somerset batsman in 2021? I wouldn't know. So cricket is just one of the many things that I love, and so there's politics, there's rugby, there's characters, there's comedians, and I'm very old now, Spencer, as you realise. So there are more stories to tell. So yeah, I think it'll appeal to everybody. But I imagine, as we're on the Somerset cricket website, as it were, that cricket will be the anchor.
You mentioned that you are a big cricket fan. Where did your love of the game stem from?
Well, I played it at school, and I watched it at home for all those years. I mean, it's practically in black and white, but I can remember when Peter West, Peter West, Peter, great character. I think he even presented the first sort of Come Dancing or something like that. But he was sort of the anchor man, as it were. But there was Richie Benno, and he was a great hero of mine, Richie, in fact. And he always used to begin his, the day of a test match, morning, everyone. And so when he died, somebody put a lovely tweet up that just said, morning, everyone, as in MOURIRNING, morning, everyone. And it just sort of you couldn't help but sort of smile with all those memories. And so played at school, and then went to watch sort of test match first time in the mid-70s, I guess, and then got to play with a lot of players as well. On the Bunbury's team, so playing against the West Indies team, which had Brian Lara, all these great players, and I went on a couple of tours when the England players were playing, and watched them play in Barbados, and watched Mark Ramprakash get his first century. He did very well. Ramprakash, who's now the coach, I think. So, Andy Caddick was another. I think he was on that tour as well. So lots of playing memories. I had my hand broken. I suffered for cricket. See that knuckle there? That was broken by Chris Cairns, who's a New Zealand fast bowler.
Mm-hmm.
And I came into bat, and I think the captain had said, "Stick one up, Bremner." And the first ball whizzed past my head as a bouncer. I thought, God, that was quite quick. And the second one went through the top, as they say. It exploded off the pitch. It was fast enough anyway, and it was even faster by the time it hit my hand. And it's called a boxer's fracture. So I've suffered for my cricket. And now it's your turn.
My cricketing expertise sadly results in, I think, one game for Axminster under 15. He ended up playing because I was staying with a friend of mine. They were player short.
Oh, sweet. Did they play on Axminster?
It's just, no.
They should have they absolutely should. They should have had a wicket made out of carpet.
It would have been
perfect, like an all-weather surface.
Yeah, like a road. You've mentioned that you've played the game a bit. What would you say is your playing claim to fame in the world of cricket?
Well, I can give you bowling Brian Lara. There you go. How about that?
Oh wow, that's decent.
I mean, let's just start at the bottom and work our way up, shall we?
Yeah.
No, I mean that was a Malcolm Marshall testimonial game. It was at the artillery ground in London, the Honourable Artillery Company. It's surrounded by these sort of buildings, and I think Brian Lara was trying to hit me into the sea. He wasn't taking it hugely seriously, and very unusually, I bowl very extremely slow leg breaks, and it kind of pitched on the off stump, and he was trying to hit me into the sea from London, and it kind of just turned a little bit, and I went through the gate. But of course, the worst thing about that is that nobody had come to watch me bowl, had they? They'd come to watch Brian Lara bat. So in fact, I was responsible for spoiling a lot of people's day. I mean, they would much rather have been there the day that Brian Lara scored 100 off 31 balls than see, oh yes, I was there, and Rory bowled Brian Lara third ball or whatever it was. So yes, I disappointed a lot of people there.
Did you give them a proper send-off though?
The proper set. I was just in a cloud of embarrassment. I'm not sure they didn't even boo me from the boundary, but I don't think they did. They brought their own booze or something. But so that's my I suppose my most famous playing memory. Oh no, actually yes, there was there was a Lord's Taverners game, and again very lucky, really lucky. We were playing an old Australian team against an old England team, so the old England players like Mike Denness, who sadly died a few years ago, and others, and they'd put me in at number 5, and I hadn't been paying attention, so I'd been talking to somebody in the pavilion, and I said, all right, who's bowling? And they said Dennis Lilly. So, oh dear. So I'm going out to bat against Dennis Lilly, and all I can hear is Bill Tidy, the cartoonist, his voice ringing in my ears. He said, "Don't worry, Rory. The worst thing that can happen is you'll be totally humiliated." And I think I did. I tried to sort of so I just remember the ball swinging like I said, banana, beautiful. And so I tried to just be very Geoffrey Boycott, and so I thought, no, get forward, and play it straight. And all that, and he got bored after 4 deliveries and decided he'd bowl a bouncer as well. And I thought, well, I better hook this, and I hooked it, and it looked up the umpire. I had my eyes shut, and I saw the umpire signalling 4. I thought, wonderful, and I looked to square leg to see where this amazing hook shot had landed, and Dennis Lilly said, "Other way, mate," and it had edged and gone straight down to the third man boundary. And then they changed bowlers, and on came David Frith, I think, who was the Cricketer magazine's editor, and he bowled wily spin, and I was caught at slip by Bob Simpson, no less. And if you know your cricket, you'll know he was one of the greats. So another day when I kind of got in the way of some really rather good players.
We've heard a few of them in this interview so far, but who are your sort of cricketing go-to impersonations? Who are your favourite cricketers?
Oh, well, it's funny you should ask that, because, of course, I started out with Brian Johnson and Johners. He used to call me Bremmers, and he was very funny. He
He used to say, I'm just thinking if it's clean enough to put on the website some of his jokes, but he did play a practical joke on me the first time I was up in the commentary box. It's 1985. I'd just done that single about cricket commentators, and he said, "No, come on, Bremner, you do an impression of Richie Bennett, don't you?" So I started off doing Richie Bennett, saying, "Well, actually, funnily enough, Brian, I do Richie Bennett," and I felt this tap on the shoulder, and I turned around. There was Richie, saying, "That's all very well, but what about the royalties?" And of course, Jonathan set the whole thing up, put Richie behind me. I didn't know, and hilarity. But actually, for my Desert Island Discs, I chose one of the records. I chose that time when Brian Johnson was completely helpless with laughter, because Jonathan Agnew very cleverly had said that Ian Botham just couldn't get his leg over in the West Indies, I think in 91, I think it was. And Brian Johnson, I know, to stop it. He hit over the wicket keepers. I just do stop it. And that always makes me laugh. So it's I've had some great moments, and there's time to enjoy cricket, isn't it? And it's not all over in 90 minutes. I mean, you know, there's an ebb and a flow, and there's warm days and long summer evenings, and so it's given me such a lot of pleasure. And Taunton, of course, is one of the most beautiful grounds, along with Worcester, because it's such a beautiful ground, isn't it? And the cathedral, and can you hear seagulls at Taunton? Have I imagined that?
Well, you can definitely hear seagulls, yes.
There we go. All right. Just beautiful. And what it would have been to be a Somerset supporter in those early 80s, when you had Joel Garner and Ian Botham and Viv Richards. I mean, heavens, those must have been wonderful days.
The stories that we hear about that era are just fantastic. And yeah, what our club is founded on, and hopefully
it's
the glory
just a
days
joy.
will return.
And it's a beautiful ground as well. It's quite a batsman's wicket, isn't it?
It was always sort of regarded as a batsman's wicket in the past, but not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore. Okay, all right. They've laid Axminster there, have they now?
Absolutely. Well, for the time being, Rory Bremner, thank you very much indeed for joining us.